Hey guys, my name is Ruben, and today I'm going to talk about something that has become increasingly popular in the United States, and this is regarding LLCs and entities. So this is not a trading video. This is mostly a video for a lot of U.S. business owners, small or medium sized, that are maybe considering doing a Series LLC. So just to preface, I am not a lawyer. I am not an accountant or a tax manager. Is just my experience with the Series LLC and what I've learned so far, and what I've learned throughout studying the entire concept and the legal cases behind it. So, a Series LLC is essentially a master LLC with a few or a lot of different subsidies. So it could be one series cell or five or 10 or 100. And essentially, it's the master LLC, which is the LLC you followed with the state. And then each individual cell essentially has its own board of directors, its own managers, its own responsibilities, its own assets and liabilities, and theoretically cannot be commingled with the general LLC. So, for example, I have an entertainment company, a trading business, and then a real estate investments. So, for example, for me, the master LLC is my name is Ruben Dante and Company LLC, and then I did that in the state of Texas, and I am from Texas. I have property in Texas. I have an address in Texas, and I spend about half of my time in Texas. Um, so that's where I was able to form mine. The other part of my time or my year I spent in California, where I work in television and film. So, for example, I have Ruben and Co. as a master LLC, and then I have the different series. And in the state of Texas, to be able to be protected as a series LLC, you have to disclose that in your articles of incorporation. So, for example, when I filed my articles, it says Ruben and Company, certificate of formation, the LLC, the managing members, and then under, I think it was under alter or under additional notes, it pretty much says notice of formation, see attached. Into which case it states on there that Ruben Dante and Co. is a series LLC with various series cells, that each series cell essentially has its own assets, its own liabilities, its own managing members, etc., etc., etc. So, for a lot of people, and especially as you read more and more about them online, they're very concerned that the state or the government or the district court will not respect the series. And based on everything I've read, most of those people are doing things that are you know tricky at best, and almost fraudulent at worst. So one of the cases you'll probably read out there is that there was a person who had a mortgage or took out a mortgage with a mortgage company, and that mortgage company was essentially a series LLC that then transferred its mortgage to one of its subsidiaries that then was sold to a bank, and then the bank came after the master LLC for their debts. So just to kind of go over that, I mean, and you can read it on your own, is it's clearly something where the Series LLC didn't seem to really have clear distinction between what the different cells were doing, and obviously the people, the creditor, the bank, or the person, the third party, had no idea that they were engaging with a Series LLC. So that LLC was particularly incorporated in Delaware, and it's an older case. I think it's 2008. Right now, it's January 21st, 2017. So the loss most likely made things a little bit more clearly, but something like that really couldn't happen. I guess it could happen. It could always happen, but that situation is so unique and different from what people doing serious LLC, such as myself, are doing. For example, like I said, in the state of Texas, you have to disclose notice of series when you're forming your articles of incorporation. Furthermore, each series within the LLC in Texas has to file Form 503, which kind of looks like a DBA, but Texas doesn't really have an official form for each series cell. But until then, they essentially instructed me to follow Form 503. So then Form 503 in the state of Texas states that Ruben Nancy & Co. LLC is engaging in doing business as Ruben Nancy & Co. All Things Hollywood, Ruben Nancy & Co. Capital Endeavor, and Ruben Nancy & Co. Estate of Endeavor, which are my three companies. Or, excuse me, my three series, I should say. So the reason I did it that way, and there's a few legal articles as to really how to best protect yourself. Series LLCs are relatively new, and there's little precedents that said a lot of how things would work out. But in doing so, I first did each series with the name of the master on there. And so it's very clearly defined. Furthermore, in any one of my businesses or companies that you go to, whether it be All Things Hollywood or State of Endeavor or Capital Endeavor, it'll say on there, as well as required by the state of Texas, this is a notice of a series corporation. Please see attached documents for further details. So essentially, whenever I engage with a business, any business or person, I have to be clear by Texas law that this is a series. So if I'm buying a property, or for example, if I have a rental in Houston, I have to let the tenants know, hey, this is a notice of a series. And this is what this means. It means that you are essentially, even though I am your landlord, or you're dealing with me, the property in which you live in is a particular series, and that cannot be basically charged against in the case of an accident, which obviously we have insurance and all of that. But in such case of something crazy happening, and of course, guys, you always have to be protected. You can't just, in my opinion, form a series and then not get insurance or not do all the other proper steps to make sure that you're covered. It's not like a blanket, in my opinion, protection. So I still have everything else in place, but let's say some catastrophe happens, or my insurance company files bankruptcy and I don't know about it, and then an accident happens or whatever. The tenants in those properties are very clear to the fact that they are in a property that is a series. They are very clear in the fact that they cannot sue any other series cell. And they're very clear in the fact that they don't have as much protection in suing someone like me or our company or LLC versus suing, saying, someone that maybe has no protection at all, where they can't go after all of your assets. So there's no question to the people that I'm engaging business with that they are involved in, or they're engaging into business or a contract with something that is a series, and they have a clear understanding of what that is. I think, and for example, in addition to that, I have obviously my entertainment company, which is in California. So in the state of California, they don't have what is called a Series LLC. They don't have it as something you can form in this state. However, according to the website, as I read and understood today, they do honor the Series LLC, and that they respect what it means in that state. So, and you have to be careful with state by state in which you're engaging business in, in California, or if you're in real estate and you're Series LLC, you obviously have to incorporate in that state if you're doing business outside of your own state, because, well, then how would you be protected? But I'm just going to go ahead and read over some key features of the Series LLC notice in California and what it means for a series to register in California. So some key features is that a Series LLC is a new form of LLC that may be formed under the laws in some states. A Series LLC is a master LLC whose organizing documents provide for separate subunits, quote, series, which operates as independent LLCs. In California, the law does not allow for a Series LLC to be formed in California. However, a Series LLC that is formed under the laws of another state may still register with the California Secretary of State and transact business in California. So that's the general disclosure from the ftp.ca.gov. And And here are some of those key features. Each unit has its own owners, members, and may be managed separately from the master and other LLC units. Each unit must maintain a separate book of records, which is very important, and I'll go over that here in just a minute. As with regular formed LLCs, the owners and members of each unit are not financially responsible for the units and debts and obligations. So again, in California, they still understand that, and it seems to me that they respect that if you're a foreign entity incorporating in California. A unit may conduct part of the business of the master LLC or may conduct wholly different business. So for example, myself, to me, it makes sense to do a series because I have an entertainment company, real estate, and financial, which you guys know me for. And all of those, and the reason I chose to do a series and not a separate LLC is because all of those are more or less pegged to my name and who I am personally. And my name is as leveraged as those companies, more as they would stand on their own. So, not that Trump is very popular, I know he's not, but just to make a point, he did file bankruptcy multiple times, if you guys know that. But the reason why he was bailed out is because his personal name was so valuable to those towers. Those towers without his name would not be worth as much. So it was in the bank's best interest to keep his name on there, essentially, and to keep the worth of those towers alive. So not that I plan on ever filing bankruptcy. No one does. But whenever you leverage your own name or yourself, going into their businesses like Mark Cuban, you really don't maybe know the business, but you know his name. So then that provides some peace of mind maybe for investors. And so therefore, in my opinion, it's always good to spend your time leveraging who you are as a person and be ethical, do everything by the book, respect people, treat people right. But you get the point. So each unit is liable for only its own debts and obligations, which is, again, recognized by the state of California. Creditors of one or more unit, creditors of one unit may only make claims against that asset of that unit. So then there's filing guidelines in California, obviously, if you are a series, and the Internal Revenue Service has not stated whether a unit within a master LLC is generally a separate entity from the master LLC. So that's still a gray area, guys. We don't really have a clear answer for that, and I'm going to go over that in just a minute. However, it has treated units of the Master Series LLC as separate tax entities in one private letter ruling. So some judge somewhere ruled in private that they are separate entities. The French's tax board has taken the positions that if each unit has features listed above under the laws in the state where the Series LLC was formed, then each unit will be treated as a separate entity for filing tax purposes. In that case, the same filing guidelines and estimated tax applied to the regular LLC will apply to each unit of the LLCs. The Secretary of State Statement of Information penalty. The Secretary of State of California imposes a penalty if your Series LLC fails its required statements of information. You guys, you always have to let the state know that you are a series if you want any kind of protection. You just have to. So now going back to the gray area of the taxes and the names and creditors. So based on what I talked to one of our lawyers is that there is no clear answer as to whether a Series LLC should have each of its sales file an EIN. So because this wasn't clear, I did two things. I filed each series with the master LLC parent name in it. So I filed, like I said, Rubidanti as a master, and then I filed Rubidanti & Co., All Things Hollywood, Rubidanti & Co. Rubidanti & Co. Capital Endeavor, and Rubidanti & Co. All Things Hollywood. So there's little room for questioning there. And then I went ahead and I filed the EIN for each one of those LLCs. So what I did was, and again, I'm not a tax attorney or by any means, but what I did do was I filed an EIN for each one. So what the EIN for one of them says Ruben Co. Series All Things Hollywood LLC, Ruben Co. Series Capital Endeavor LLC. So whenever I do engage in credit, which the master LLC has a lot of credit, or a lot more than each sells, is that if I apply for a loan, I will apply for a loan, let's say for one of the series, it'll be under one of the specific EINs. So it'll be a loan for, Ruben Co. Let's say All Things Hollywood. And the loan or the credit card will be with All Things Hollywood's EIN number. It won't be with the series EIN number. So there's no commingling of funds to creditors there. They will either give me credit based on the credit history of All Things Hollywood specifically, or they will ask me, the person, to be a personal guarantor. So then there's little reason to be weary, in my opinion, of whether or not you are having your other series at risk. So just to recap, if you are going to follow a Series LLC, it's great because it's, in some ways, it's less paperwork. It's a single filing document with the state. In some ways, it's cheaper because you just file, arguably one or multiple tax returns as a flow-through entity. That, again, talks to your account about. And you essentially, you can, in some ways, it's having like a classic corporation with wholly owned subsidies. The disadvantages are also, for example, a bank account. So JP Morgan Chase, last I checked, a couple of weeks ago, they do not honor the Series LLC and will not open Series LLC's bank accounts. So that's a whole other issue, is that banking is going to be tricky because most banks will ask for a different filing document for each business you want to open an account for, and the Series LLC states that you must have different bank accounts and books for each one of the series, which means for me, I have one master LLC with 3 different series with 3 EINs. So Wells Fargo, for example, could not open a bank account for the various series because there was only one filing document in the Secretary of State. So even though there was 3 EIN numbers and 3 different names, they couldn't, or at least that this particular banker didn't know how to do it and couldn't do it. So then you're going to run into the challenge of maybe not being able to open up bank accounts for each series. Now, the easiest way I can think around that is that you have the master LLC, let's say at JP Morgan or Wells Fargo, and then each series you have at different banks, and then you take the original filing document, open up the bank account with the DBA of one of the series names, which paperwork you would have. For example, I have form 503 for each name. So then I would take that form and then open up, let's say, an account at the next bank with the original filing documents, and then from that point use the EIN of that series to open up the account. So then the different banks don't have that much of an issue. However, I did find that Capital One 360, Spark Business, is more than happy to open up series accounts, and they're very flexible and they're great. The disadvantage is, of course, that they don't have a lot of local branches. But I had an amazing experience opening up a series account with Capital One Spark, to which I was able to open up an account for each series with its name, its account number. It was great. So again, guys, a Series LLC is something that you, in my opinion, should be pretty savvy on what you're doing, and you have to really, really follow the law if you want to be protected and be very transparent, which I think you should always be. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Contact your lawyer. Find out if your state even accepts Series LLCs, and do your due diligence. But that's just my experience with my series, and some general guidelines of a Series LLC. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I will keep continuing researching that. I will also do a video for traders regarding the market to market tax filing, which would allow you to lift the cap of the $3,000 yearly loss. So thank you so much, guys. Let me know if this was helpful. And good luck with your businesses and your business endeavors. Thank you so much and have a great day.